ورد سراعي ترو صورة خدام أبلي أفجع بيشي سكام أبلي أفدي بي.
My name is Basele Galgesa, the Executive Director of Pastoralist Goals Foundation, a pastoralist, an indigenous youth lead, a father, and a harder. Today I just want us to talk about, and freely, just a conversation on pastoralism and climate change. You see, there has been a notion that pastoralism is hazardous to the environment, that pastoralists are climate change, our cows, our camels, our goats. You know, growing up, and part of the curriculum that I learned in school talked about, cows when they step on the soil, the hooves causing soil erosion, when it rains and then the soil erosion. There are conversations about quite a lot of conversation that I came to realize later. Even now, with the modern science and these billionaires talking about cows producing methane that is hazardous to environment, greenhouse emissions, and that we should reduce the number of cows. All these conversations. But have we thought about what pastoralism is really is? You see, because from my perspective, having lived, my entire life as a pastoralist, herding, and looking at what I know now, I think most of that science was misplaced. You see, first of all, look at cows and goats and camels when they graze and they move, because I want us to speak about mobility, livestock mobility. When cows graze, eat seeds, when they move with the seeds and disperse. That is, high-level science. They're dispersing seeds. When they step on the soil, the hooves, it's like tractors that do not need fuel. Have you ever thought about that? Our cows are like tractors that do not need fossil fuel. You don't need to have a combined harvest and, all that kind of modern equipment. So when you talk about pastoralism, it's something of the past also. It's not. Pastoralism is actually the future. I know young people, I would like to pose this question to young people who are watching us today. Mobility, livestock mobility, has been considered something of the past. Why should you be moving with your livestock? Huh? You're moving up and down. Come on, have moved already. Now imagine as a young pastoralist, you leave your cows, you go to school. Then you move from one city to another seeking for a job. What's the difference between you moving from one city to another, city hopping, seeking for jobs, and that pastoralist moving from one place to another with their cows, with their camels, with their goats? Actually, I'll tell you what the difference is. The difference is that one is working with their livelihood, while another is seeking for a livelihood. You see, like I wanted to discuss about pastoralists and nature. A lot of our land is being taken away from us. Have you ever had that conversation as young people? Especially, let me speak to the pastoralist communities of northern Kenya. Our land is being subdivided into oblivion, being registered, private enterprises, energy companies, and the elephant in the room, forest conservation. There are a lot of concerns about forest conservation. You see, pastoralism, because this question has been asked several times to me about what is the alternative to conservation, forest conservation. There are conservancies and that are being set up. There are national parks all over. There are national reserves. I have no problem with all this. But when conservation puts, us versus them, you have these beautiful big conservancies, with fences, some without fences, but, with complete with guards and water points, actually massive water points, excluding the original owners of that land who are dependent on pastoralism. And therefore, when you exclude them, you create conflict. Because that's why I'm saying that, when most people ask me, what is the alternative to this forest conservation? And I tell them, there is a simple alternative that has always existed, and it's pastoralism. Because as pastoralists, you see, say, let me give an example. You have a 10-acre piece of land. And in this 10-acre piece, you have cows, you have chicken. I'm giving now an example of, current modern kind of ranch. You need to build a house. And at the same time, probably you need to have a playground. Now, when you separate your 10-acre piece of land into all this, what happens? When you do not need to play, the playground is there, but no one is playing in that playground. But it's still there. Space that's there, but not utilized. Because you fenced it out. That is what modern forest conservation does. You fence off as, you have specific, you set aside specific piece of land. You call it, land for conservation. You have wildlife there. Beautiful. We'll all love wildlife as pastoralists. But imagine you have all that vegetation. You have locked out livestock and pastoralists and that. When those wildlife are not grazing in a certain piece of land, it stays like that until, and therefore you hear Morans. I have conversation with Morans and with young herders. You hear them saying, grass that or pasture that stays until the next rain and another rain and another rain. Well, previously, because when wildlife move to a certain place, livestock come in, they browse on that, and therefore you do not have grass that edges. Even a tree, when it's not pruned, when you just leave it to grow haphazardly, it's not a healthy thing. And therefore, even when you leave pastures unbrowsed for periods of time and rains, upon rains find it, you have challenges like you have today. So, I think today is just a free kind of talk. I just want to encourage. In our next talk show, I'd like us to talk about livestock mobility in depth and why livestock mobility is very important. It's an age-old tradition that has been passed from our grandparents, and therefore, in the next conversation, I would like us to speak about that in connection to traditional wisdom. Stay tuned. Thank you. Ciao. Find us on YouTube at Pastoralist Goals. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.